Many anthropologists can attest to the difficulty of documenting witchcraft in indigenous communities. It is something that villagers often have a great deal of a discomfort talking about. It is something that it may even be a source of embarrassment, that people still believe in the subject, or in some cases, it's such a taboo matter that they will often deny its existence or kind of relegate the subject to another place. It's not what we do, it is what those people for another village or in another part of the country do. And in fact, this is something that I myself encountered as I was trying to do research on subjects of witchcraft, magic, and the supernatural. I was looking mostly at vocabularies of the supernatural, and such as the examples that I provided in the last section. And in fact, when I was among the villages and I started to talk about my interest in these subjects, sometimes the villagers would just straight out ask me, why didn't I just go to Catemaco? Because everybody in Mexico knows that Catemaco is the place where it's happening. That is Mexico's witch city, much like Salem, Massachusetts is America's witch city, because it has reached that level of national and even international reputation as a place where many magical practitioners regularly perform services. And part of the reason that I didn't go is because that was not my field of study. My study had more to do with discourse, language, the ways in which Native peoples talk about these supernatural categories, these practitioners, and these ideas of the soul, ideas of the shape-shifting witch in contemporary discourse. How was this language changing over time? And I wanted to do this in a strictly Nahuatl setting. And so it was more important for me to look at a community where most of the villagers actively spoke the language. And so my study had more to do with linguistic anthropology, semantics, and discourse, the ways in which people today are talking about these supernatural beings, and both their native language as well as also in Spanish. And so that was I was not really looking at Catemaco as a place to do this because there really aren't as many native language speakers there. That was one of my main reasons why I didn't choose Catemaco. But the main reason is because that had already been done. Catemaco has already been studied in anthropological literature. And the most famous example of this is Olavarrieta Marenco's Magia en los tuxtlas, which looked at the not only Catemaco, but also some of the communities around the Lake Catemaco, the Tuxtlas mountain region of southern Veracruz. And so this monograph documents the types of practitioners, the types of practices, the evolution and the history of these various practices, the different indigenous, African, and European sources of the different magics that have converged in this region of southern Veracruz. And it's a very meticulous study. It talks about the different kinds of magical practices, the people who do them, the attitudes toward magic and witchcraft, and it even has a few choice illustrations, such as these that show, for example, a binding spell on my right, and a photo of a devil on an altar. And so it also includes some pictures of the more well-known practitioners who are renowned in the Catemaco region, at least at the time. And even some photos of the ambience and other devices that were used in this region. It was published in 1977, which goes to show that Catemaco has had generations of a reputation for being a center, a hotbed for magical practice and activity. And I would say that going to a place like this, you're much more likely for people to be open about their practices and what is and how magic is understood, because it's an industry there. It draws tourism. Catemaco is probably the most visible place for magical ritual in all of Mexico. And in fact, there's a big to-do every first Friday of March, where there is a major conference or a convention of sorcerers, magicians, witches, who come together to do really spectacular rituals. And so Catemaco would have been a very different kind of ethnographic climate to do fieldwork in, because they're much more open about the study because it's good for business. And so it would have been a very different kind of study had I gone there instead. But like I said, it's already been done. And I wanted to do something that had more to do with the ways in which villagers in more remote areas are talking about these subjects, and how their discourses, the ways in which they talk about these supernatural beings, could be evolving over time, and also looking in light of the presence of globalization, the ways in which even the media seems to be shaping the ways in which these ideas of the supernatural are evolving into the 21st century.